million a month from there, 2 million a month year after that, 3 million a month the year after that. So it was really starting to kind of pick up way in over my head. And that was part of my issue too, is I got probably more successful than I should have been early on. And I didn't set up a lot of great systems that I should have had in place.
Hey guys, I got my good friend Steve Frye here, who is with Hive Nashville, and we're going to be talking all about what's going on in the real estate market here in Nashville. Steve's been around for only 6 years, but he has had a really fast trajectory, closing over $100 million in actually real estate in 200 units in just that amount of time. So he got in 2018, started out with a small brokerage or with a boutique brokerage in Nashville. Now he's moved on to Hive Nashville with my good friend Michael Gomez. And Steve really stays busy across the residential. He's really used BiggerPockets to market, things like that. But commercial, multifamily, he's involved in those. He's got boots on the ground. And really just a really well-rounded realtor and real estate mind who has 2 sons working for him. And so I want you guys to really tune in today and listen to how this guy can help you. Steve, good to see you.
Absolutely. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about what you were talking about off air. I mean, you kind of got started in 2018. You were brand new to it. You came from the healthcare industry. You were in finance. What were you doing before? And did any of that help you translate to real estate, or was it completely new? I mean, think about like our audience is really like a lot of realtors and even, clients, things like that.
Yeah. And great question. So 2018, I spent about 20 years in corporate finance all in the healthcare arena. Had some great gigs, had some long runs with companies, and then I had 2 jobs in a row that I lost. One because of an acquisition, and then I went and got another gig, and those jobs aren't easy to get at that level. I went and got another gig, and then they moved the operations to Texas. And they were like, "Do you want to come to Texas?" And it's like, "No, I don't." So it was just very frustrating. I was 48 years old. You start to feel the like ageism a little bit in the world, feeling like, oh, this a guy half my age can do what I'm doing. And I mean, I got some experience, but they could probably pay him half what I get paid. So my wife mentioned to me, she said, while you're looking for the next job, why don't you try real estate? Just at least put your foot into it, see if you like it. Maybe you can do it on the side. So I did that. I went and took the test. I got lucky enough to pass right off the bat, and I hung my hat with Village here in Nashville. Like you said, a boutique company that was more focused on infill downtown Nashville. Yeah, so
Mark
Deutschman, yeah, great company, and I have tons of friends over there, and it was a great place to start off with. Lots of education, loved it. So, but I started there, and I had really interesting. I mean, this typically doesn't happen, but my very first day, did an open house for somebody. First day as a realtor, did open house. And I met a couple, and from there, it was not a big sale, but about a month and a half later, I closed a condo with them, $140,000. No big deal, but it got me hooked, definitely. And I'd been doing this corporate finance gig for so long, and I was good at it, but it was so repetitive, and something new like this was almost like addictive. So it was like, oh man, maybe I'm pretty good at this, and it's exciting. So I started to stop focusing on looking for another job. I just really started focusing on real estate, just telling my wife I was looking for a job, but I was over here focusing on real estate. And one of the first things I did, because as a new agent, it's all about how do you differentiate yourself and how do you create clients and create business. So I went after, I started looking up all the investor real estate websites. BiggerPockets was probably the biggest, and it still is in that world. And what I immediately did, and this is a good tip for anybody that's looking to grow your business or new to the business, but I just went after that investor market because I thought, okay, my finance background, even though I didn't really know what I was talking about, it was a good cover, at least, to be able to go to people.
That's a good word.
Yeah, to be able to go and say,
yeah.
I mean, look, I know what I'm talking about. I'm a 20-year finance guy. But basically what I was doing was using the BiggerPockets website to find out what people were talking about and find out who was talking about Nashville, what they were looking for. So then from there, it was, okay, maybe I can use my finance geek brain to go and just research as much as I can and just understand everything about these markets that they're looking for. And it was more about I was always worried about getting into real estate. I'm a finance guy. How am I going to sell? I didn't want to be cheesy, and I didn't want it to feel like that. But I just started bringing stuff to the table that these people were already asking for, and all of a sudden deals started happening, and I was like, "Holy crap! Like this is how you do it." That was initially how I kind of made traction in the market and figured it out. But so I've always been like that. I've never really been a hard sell guy. But and investors have always kind of been a big cog of my business as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you come on board, you get your first. I mean, did you have a lot of runway? Like, I don't know if you want how detailed you want to get. Did you have a severance package, or was this like do or die? I mean, what was you mean?
Yeah, yeah, good question too. So, yeah, there was a little bit of severance definitely there, but it's different when you're head of household and you're worried about the light bill,
Mm,
versus, oh, I want to tinker with real estate, and maybe my dad or my uncle, is really successful, or somebody's a builder, or I don't need, the family doesn't need your income. When it's up to you and it's your income that drives the family, it's like, you better figure this shit out. And that's exactly what I was doing. I was like, okay, I'm gonna. And quick story: when I was first at Village, we were at a training, and they were trying to explain to us how to balance your time, life work balance, and this was within like my first couple of weeks of being in real estate. And they were saying, maybe 35, 40 hours a week so you don't burn out. I was already working like 80 hours a week. I mean, it was
mm,
like, I was all I was thinking about.
mm.
And I tell you what, the agents that I know that have been successful obsess over it. And it's not great to obsess over it. And hopefully you get to a point where you can balance your business a little bit. You have enough resources and people, but you still obsess over it. Yeah.
So you're jamming right along, and then talk about like how your trajectory went because it took off pretty quickly.
Yeah. So I did that, had that first sale, and I thought, I'll just do open houses and get business. And, why isn't anybody else thinking about this?
Right.
And
This is easy.
yeah, so I was doing
I'll
open
do this.
houses,
I'll do this again.
I was doing two open houses a week. And of course, it didn't always go like that.
How
I
many
mean,
months was it before you had your next sale?
so I was 5 months out before my next sale. So from that very easy first transaction, it was 5 months after that, but there was the momentum was building. You could feel things snowballing. I was having great conversations. I had people that were talking about offers. I even had submitted an offer that didn't work out. And so I kept thinking, and I was trying to keep my wife, um, positive along with me at the same time, because it didn't look like things were
Because your
doing.
boys were probably what, in high school or
They
what, or college or
they were in high
yeah,
school. They're
right.
27 and 24 now. So they
6 years. Yeah.
were, well, one was in high school, one was older. Um, so I was trying to keep the momentum and the positivity going, but it was 5 more months after that. But once that hit, it was like $1 million a month from there. And a lot of it was all that momentum I was bringing and all the work I'd done. But one of the things I learned early on was just to keep your foot on the gas, because it's too easy to get some clients and get some sales, and then you stop focusing on pushing and targeting and promoting and doing all the marketing that you should be. That's why there's so many realtors do this. They
Mm,
have some sales, they get lazy about it, they go back down, and they're like, oh, I better work hard again and come back up. So
right.
you get those
Up and down.
cyclicals. But yeah, so it was million a month from there in sales, 2 million a month year after that, 3 million a month the year after that. So it was really starting to kind of pick up, way in over my head. And that was part of my issue too, is I got successful, uh, probably more successful than I should have been early on, and I didn't set up a lot of great systems that I should have had in place. So, and I'm still paying for some of that. I mean, I never kind of went by the
Traditional.
traditional process. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting to me because I've known you now for some time, but when you say this, um, and even off air, it's just interesting because even your sons who work with you some
Mhm.
in your business have told you, hey, here's some spots where we could clean up and be a little bit more dialed in, a little
Yeah.
more organized, particularly with CRNs and things. So I think the way I receive that, though, I think this maybe can show some agents that just sometimes just pure grit and effort. It's just brute force.
Yeah.
Almost think of Alex Ramosi just talking about, sometimes it's just lasering in on what you were good at, and
Mhm.
you just sort of like to hear you say it, you kept your foot on the gas,
Yeah.
right? And so that sort of just propelled you forward, and you can always kind of go back and
create the systems.
create
Yeah.
the systems,
hmm
right?
Yeah. My older son, especially Logan, he's always been really good with, and he's always bringing me new technology and saying, "Look at this," and we should switch to this, and he's probably right. But the problem is, and we have these initial conversations, and we'll have great meetings and talk about it, and then I never do anything about it because I get busy. So that's the hard part, is stopping to taking, stepping back away from where you're at, and feel like you're building the building blocks again,
Yeah.
which I should have done from the get go. But I know that's instrumental though for any agent, in being successful going forwards. I can't always go after the next lead and the next lead and the next lead. You've
Mhm.
got to create the structure so that you've got all of the, all the current clients that you're working, you're getting referrals from them, you're reaching back, taking, keeping tabs on them, um, and existing clients that you've worked with already. I mean, just making sure that you're giving good focus to that. I've read where 80% of most really successful agents' business comes from their existing CRM and referral. And I bet very little of mine does, because I'm always just hard chasing after all the new stuff.
So Logan and Bailey, they've played a role. Talk about them, and then also talk about Lisa, how she supports you and
Yeah.
through your journey, and then what that looks like now.
Yeah. Yeah. So Logan and Bailey both. Bailey's probably more tech oriented. That's my younger son, so he's really good at creating websites for us. He
I
rebuilt
know
our
you're young, so
website.
he's like what, 16?
Yeah. He's 24.
He's 24. Yeah.
He's 24. My oldest is 27. So
That's
Bailey's
wild.
great at Logan's good at tech side too. Bailey's really good at, like, he wants to understand how to write the code to build the website. So and that's been really valuable to have a resource like that. They're both really good at marketing. Right now, I'm using Bailey more as he's an assistant for me as well as a realtor. So he's doing a lot of marketing creation for me in Canva, graphics, things like that. I still like to be involved in those things, but yeah, they've both been instrumental. Logan especially. I mean, when I first started, like, imagining going after all this business without having any idea what you're doing. So Logan was really good at telling me what not to do, which was
Give
probably,
an example of that, like for
so
the audience.
I would be having conversations with somebody about, creating a deal, or trying to write something into a contract, and he'd step in and he was like, "You can't say this, or you can't do that, or that's not how this works." So
You were getting out over your skis in a sense, and
yes,
promising things that you maybe couldn't. I see.
just giving me guardrails on promises or commitments
Mm.
that I was trying to, like, go out there and talk to people about, and again, really having just a smidge of an idea of what I was even talking about,
Right.
but being successful doing it, but having somebody to, like, rein you in a little bit. I think that was even more important than, being him even being able to tell me what I could do. It was more about telling me where I need to, like, stay in my lane.
I mean, did you know Logan had that skill set in him, or was that a surprise to you? I know it had to be a sense of pride as a father of him being
100%.
like, here's him supporting me, actually propelling me
Yeah.
in my career. And so, like, what was that like?
I don't think early on I expected him to take to real estate and be as, I mean, he's always been smart.
Because what was he doing before?
I
For the
mean, he got into it right out of high school. So I mean, he really
Yeah.
wasn't doing anything. He worked at, like, a putt-putt course or something,
Right,
in a
right.
go-kart track
Mhm.
place, a couple of little restaurants maybe. But so when he got into it, he he was an admin. He was an intern initially, writing social media blogs, became an assistant, and he was working with like 5 or 6 agents. So just doing that, I mean, he was exposed to so many deals and so much activity. I mean, he probably, before I even brought him on a year into my business, he'd probably already been a part of 400 or 500 deals. So he'd seen a lot. And that was so valuable, because when you're at a place like Village and you're trying to ask a question to a broker and you can't find them, or they got 3 people waiting to talk to them,
Mhm.
and I could just, like, text Logan and he gives me an answer right away. It was like having my own built-in broker, you know?
Amazing, amazing.
Mhm.
And Lisa, she helps
Yeah.
some.
Yeah, my wife definitely helps. I run stuff by her all the time. She's always out with me when we're out running around town, kind of doing, looking at properties, checking things out, maybe needing to get pictures taken. She helps me organize not only my work, but also follow up on people. That's the biggest thing I need help with a lot of times, is just, remembering to follow up with people. I write it down, but then I get 20
Mhm.
people, 20 things behind, and I forget. So she's really great at that administrative and organizational side. She's also really creative too, so I can bounce a lot of design stuff off of her. Sometimes she's helped us to redesign a couple of properties as well. So it's a good. If I listen to her more, which I hate to admit, but if I listen to her more, my life would be easier.
And so I think that we can, many of us men can relate to that as husbands. Yeah. But we were talking earlier about your mix of business. So it's about 40% investors, right?
Yeah.
And then about 40% traditional or residential, just traditional, and a lot of listings on that and on that side of it, and then about 20% commercial, right?
Yeah, and I try to balance a little land development in there as well.
Land development, right?
Yeah, I've got some clients that have some big land parcels up north of Nashville that we've been really, really close on landing some big developments. And again, I'm even 6 years in, I feel like I'm still early into the game to be trying to take down a 700 home development and know what I'm doing. But you throw yourself in there and you just figure it out. But I've done some small land development opportunities with the investors here locally, where they're buying properties and putting the 2 build on, or even a 10 build in one case. I've got my own builds that I'm involved in doing. I've got a 3 build here in Nashville, that in East Nashville, me and a partner are working on. We probably picked the worst project. I was telling you earlier, we probably picked the worst project possible to start with, to do our new build or get into development.
You've had some problems, but you overcame the problems and you're moving forward and still going to make money.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be profitable still.
Kind of had to take 1 step back to take 2 steps forward. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. But it was, but I'll tell you what, and it's like everything else, when you take on those really challenging opportunities, you learn so much. I feel like I've got a little associate's degree in development because of all this stuff we've kind of run into over the last year.
So segueing, talk about what your thoughts are on the NAR settlement. What are your thoughts are moving forward? Is it going to change anything for you? If so, how?
Yeah, I mean, I talked to a lot of agents.
I know we're early on, so
yeah, exactly. I talked to a lot of agents about this, and I follow a lot of also talk out there from different agents. And there's a lot of agents that are nervous and concerned about it. And part of it's just because it's such an unknown. But there are some things that National Association of Realtors, NAR, have left us in a lurch about. I mean, they did the settlement to help clear up, their risk in that situation. They left a bunch of brokerages kind of out there in the wings. Any brokerage over $2 billion is kind of on their own to kind of negotiate their own settlement. But they also made these changes, and then they didn't give any even talking points to agents to say, okay, well, we're taking the commission structure, the buyer agent commissions away on the MLS. And it's still, and there's of course a lot of misnomers out there. So it can still be offered by a seller and a selling agent or the listing agent to a buyer agent broker. It just can't be promoted on the MLS. So it just has to be other ways that we go about finding out what is offered. And so there's a lot of headlines you see talking about home prices are going to come down. The 6% commission structure that's been in place for a long time, that people think has been in place, it's actually flexible and negotiable. And I'm part of deals all the time where it's not 6%. And there's other markets around the country where it's never been 6% or hasn't been for a long time. So there's a lot of headline grabbing stuff out there that kind of misleading people. But it's really just about the buyer agents or people that when we represent buyers, we just have to know where to go to find out, is there compensation offered on this deal? And smart sellers are going to still offer it, because really, if you're a seller, you've got a listing agent working for you, and they're promoting the deal and they're pushing out as much as they can. But if you've got an army of buying agents out there that are helping to facilitate and push and promote your property, you're only going to get more people and attention and money for your property. So it more than offsets probably anything you're going to be offering to a buyer agent.
I mean, do you think that it will reduce prices? I don't.
Yeah, I don't either at all. I've had so many conversations already with people, and if sellers saved any money because of commissions, they're just going to stick it in their pocket.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see any movement at all in house prices due to this structure. I feel like they really just kind of didn't handle this properly. I mean, as far as I get that there were some complaints out there and that there was a lawsuit. NAR didn't really put up much of a fight during the lawsuit to like bring any agent representation to say, hey, it's not been like this. It felt like it was just a one-sided biased lawsuit that kind of came through. And maybe things needed to change some, definitely. I mean, there's always, you experience this, I know, in the mortgage business that you guys have had some huge changes over the years,
Yeah.
but there probably needed to be some change. But the way that it went about it, and then all of a sudden it was just kind of cut off, and then now there's all just negative.
What did you think needed to be changed? Like from your vantage point, what's something that you felt like, gosh,
Well,
this could be changed and be made better?
sure. So, I mean, around the commission structure, if there was an idea out there that it was a hard and fixed 6%, I mean, and that never really has been. It's always been negotiable. There's a lot of times where when you go to present yourself and say, okay, I'm going to be listing the property. This is what I'm asking for. But a good agent, that's a good listing agent, that's also bringing a lot more to the table, a lot of promotion and marketing and dollars they're spending, and they've got a big network that they can promote to. That's all a lot of time and money that they've spent to create and separate themselves from someone else just signing your house and throwing it on the MLS. I mean, that's anybody can do that. So there is definitely a difference between levels of agents.
Sure.
So I mean, there's obviously certain agents probably even deserve more than 6%. Out there.
And some teams do charge more. I mean, I
Yeah.
know teams that out there that charge. It's almost like like a menu of services.
Yes.
And then
Yeah.
you can choose, and then but it's more like I think it's one of the biggest Keller teams out there, something like that, and they're typically like 8%, something like that.
Yeah. I mean, and there's a lot of things you can do to show that your value and show that you're going to get more money for a property or sell it quicker for a client that to justifies yourself. One of the things I try to really pride myself on is a lot of heavy promotion and marketing. And, I don't know if I do a great job of them, but I try to do a lot of like videos that I'm included in that I try to make them catchy and give them a hook, put them on social media, promote the property that way. And I just hammer all the different avenues of promotion and marketing I can on a property, so that I feel like I'm bringing as much to the table as I can on the listing side.
Steve, what do you like about what you do the most? What do you like about it the most?
So it's always it's always I would always say the flexibility of it, but at the same time, I feel like I work 100 hours a week, and I'm always at someone else's um, on someone else's schedule because of all. If you get busy, I mean, you're constantly just back to back to back to back, and you're always trying to reply and respond to people's requests. But at the same time, I'm running around during the day with my wife, and we're looking at properties, and we're checking things out, and we're talking and hanging, we're having lunch. I mean, there's a really cool mix and blend of that. But I also like the deal making part of it too. I mean, maybe that's the finance side of me. I like the houses. I mean, looking at the beautiful houses and the finishes and the layouts, the pools in the back, the architecture, all that's cool. But I feel like I really kind of just um, what really triggers it for me is the deal making side of it. I really like to not only just win, but but also find opportunities for people, and then also make structure a deal and you see that more maybe in the investor side.
Yeah. What do you feel like that you could improve in your business right now? Or like if you could make an adjustment,
Yeah.
however big or small, what would you say to that? We've talked about that some a little
Yeah,
bit, but
I think it would 100% be the organization and the system side of it. I mean, I meet so many new people all the time. I get a lot of referrals, and I mean, it's not uncommon for me to have talk to 2 or 3 new people a week, that I've never met before that get introduced to me. And so fleshing those people out. But if the goal would be take them, put them in the CRM, get good notes around them, label them, tag them, so that when you go to remarket to them, or at least stay in front of them. Or if you have a property that fits, a good criteria for them, they were already in a bucket that you can promote to. So I do a little bit of that, but I don't do it nearly enough. I need to be much better about it. And I talk to agents around town that are really good at it, and they do way more volume than I do. And I wonder how they do it, but it's because of that. They've got good resources around them, and they got good systems.
right, right. So what are you excited about as we, move into the rest of this year, as we move into what's quote unquote the buying season?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, it's
absolutely.
springtime.
I'm hoping some of my listings to start getting traction soon. We got several of them under contract now. I've got about 11 total. I've got about 5 more coming. So there's a lot of activity on the listing side I'm seeing. So not that we're having that much trouble moving them, but I just want, I'd like to see a quicker day on market, and those things sell a little bit quicker. But I'm interested in seeing how interest rates adjust over the next 6 months, definitely, and 3 months even. They've been kind of hard headed lately.
Mm-hmm.
If we can get them even we're close to the low sixes, I know that makes a difference because on January 1, once we got past the holiday season and we got past that 8% October, interest rate, January 1 hit and it was lights out. Like people were ringing me up, and buyers were definitely coming out of the woodwork. So they always say for every quarter point or half point drop or whatever, X number of more buyers come to the market, and it's a true thing. I mean, people are sitting there waiting to figure out what to do, and the interest rate moves kind of trigger them.
How are you seeing people win right now? Maybe on the buy side, start with that. What are you seeing that they're doing
Mm-hmm.
where they're winning?
Yeah, we're still able to negotiate some seller concessions pretty good. I feel like it was even better a few months ago, maybe. But sellers, the inventory is still really tight. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's going to start loosening up the reins a little bit. Some of it's been the sellers that just have been so scared to make a move because of the interest rates, and they had a better interest rate, and they don't want to sell at the higher interest rate and buy again. But I think people just they start adopting to it too, and they start getting
Mm-hmm.
used to a 6% interest rate, and if they want to move, they're going to move. So I feel like I'm seeing more inventory come to market. Some things are sitting on market a little longer. That also is a good opportunity on buyers to come in there and make a deal, negotiate. But I've been a part of deals this year where we've had $50,000 concessions. So for a
Amazing.
buyer, so they're really getting some good opportunities that they wouldn't get 6 months from now, 3 months from now.
Well, and I think a lot of people understand about concessions, but I think it bears mentioning that these concessions can be used to get the rate much lower,
Hmm.
and so they get the payment lower, and that's really ultimately what it boils down to. I mean, a rate's a number. A payment is something that comes out of their account, each month. All of us, that's what comes out of our account, and so that's where I think everyone is focused on is like, okay, what does this do? It makes total sense. I mean, why would someone, you know, buy and it's a house that's maybe just a little bit of an upgrade. They've got all this equity roll into it, but the payment is skyrocketing. It's a little bit tough for them to swallow. And I think that's where the concessions come in
Yeah,
and really make an impact, and try
absolutely,
to get the payment lower. What about
absolutely.
sellers? What are you seeing with them right now as they sort of, um, are in this market, and how are they winning? Do you see on your clients?
Yeah. So
What's the mindset for them?
there's, I
What's
think,
it need to be, I guess?
yeah, sure. It's interesting. No matter what the market, I think unique and good houses sell
Mhm.
really, really quick. Not unique in the fact that it looks crazy, but
Yeah.
and houses that you just don't see every day, or the ones that have ones in good neighborhoods and that have been well maintained or have good renovations, they still sell like that every
Mhm.
single time. And it doesn't matter what the prices are or what the rates are doing. So, anytime people can keep up their house and maintain it properly, and do some cool things to it, I know, whether they have done it because they live there or because they're doing it to sell it, that always seems to work.
Yeah.
Good staging, does seem to help a house move better than a house that's empty. Um, but yeah, I mean, I feel like
Too unique is a problem, right? I
yeah,
mean,
it is. It
I
is.
just saw the Rick Ross has his house on the market in Atlanta, and it looks like the Pentagon. Someone said it's huge,
Yeah,
and it would be $100 million in California, and it's 5.2 million.
it
And I mean, it
can't
just
sell,
looks like a
right? Probably.
compound, but it's just so unique.
Yeah.
Mike Tyson had a situation like that where he
Hmm.
sold home in
Look
Connecticut.
at Michael
So
Jordan's house has been
Michael
sitting on
Jordan,
the house,
it's been on
on the
for
market forever.
years and years and years,
Yeah.
and so sometimes but that can be done not just for someone that's
Hmm.
has a lot of wealth, but it could be done on a smaller scale where just
Yeah.
they just pigeonhole themselves.
You were asking about sellers too. I think one of the biggest um, ways that they can win right in this market is just pricing appropriately. There's so many people that
Yeah.
have got their mindset stuck from the past few years and seeing what this what prices did, and that they could just charge whatever and people would buy it. And there's still opportunities or scenarios where we're even seeing it maybe a little bit more now where houses go multi-bid or they go over asking price. I would say for 95% of the houses, maybe more than that, they're still going through the traditional cycle. And if they're overpriced, they're going to sit and then they're going to come down, and then people are going to wonder if something's wrong with them. And it's just going to create an ugly scenario versus pricing appropriately on the front end and getting it sold and moved for them quicker. So, and you run into that. I mean, I face that all the time with sellers asking me about trying to price their property higher. And you don't want to be arguing too much against your own client, but you're pushing for a lower number. And I know they sometimes wonder, well, are you keeping my best interest in mind? I'm like, I'm trying to get your house sold. And if it's priced appropriately, you're going to make the most amount of money versus still selling for this, but selling for it 3 months down the road because you overpriced it.
Right.
So, we're there to try to make the process smooth and easy and keep everything calm, but also sell it quickly for them.
Now, you're involved in a few different markets. I mean, we're here in Middle Tennessee and Nashville. I know you branch out a little bit in Middle Tennessee, looking at some developments, but also East Tennessee.
Yeah.
Share with people, where there are still some opportunities. I mean, I think a lot of people, there's money sitting on the sidelines. There's people sitting on the sidelines because they feel like, hey, I've kind of missed the boat. But even in Gatlinburg, yes, prices have gone up, but are there still some opportunities? Talk about where some opportunities still are for the buyers that are out there thinking about maybe making an investment in a second home or something like that, or even their first home.
Yeah, and I get quite a bit of that on the investor side. I'm a big short-term rental agent here in Nashville and the Smokies, and I took on the Smokies actually as a byproduct of I was working, being in the Nashville market. I was having people that were interested in Nashville, and if they couldn't find what they wanted, they said, well, I might look at the Smokies. So I started referring that out. And then I finally thought I could go figure that out instead of referring all this business over to the Smokies. So I went there. It's 3 hours from Nashville. So I went there and started understanding that market as much as I could, made some relationships. I actually ended up buying 2 properties in the Smoky Mountain market, a cabin and a townhome that we completely renovated. But yeah, there is opportunity there. Definitely there. I feel like the prices have started to slide down. I know they have. So the affordability is getting a little bit better there. The sellers have been a little hard-headed there as far as reacting to the market. I feel like Nashville and some other metropolitan markets kind of ebb and flow, pretty quickly. That market took a little bit longer to kind of come down, but the big cabins that, especially the one with the amenities, are the ones that crush it still, and especially if you got good design on top of it. I've got a short-term rental client of mine, Michael Elefante. He bought his first couple with me. He sends me a lot of business. He's a big deal out there in the STR world, and he does a great job and has an Airbnb academy that instructs people on how to run their own Airbnb business, self-manage or property manage, whatever they're going to do, but also just setting up themselves for success.
Yeah.
And great design and standing out from the crowd works every time. So, he could I feel like he could take a property, get a hold of it, and double the revenues of it just because of what he's capable of. And he's excellent. But yeah, I think that's one way I see people really still scoring in that market. And even if they go and have a $400,000 budget and they find, a 2-bedroom there, which there's a more availability there than in Nashville due to the there's less regulation, so more properties qualify. But I've seen people take $400,000 or $500,000 properties and just crush it on the design and do really well from it. So it doesn't
on the short-term STRs?
On the STR, yeah, on those cabins there. So it doesn't always take $1 million cabin. It could take it could be a $400,000 cabin.
Well, I bet there's people out there that are wondering, with the rates doing what they are now, what are you seeing is the better play, or as far as do they need a bigger down payment? Or is there something that maybe is the better play where they get something that has some value add?
Yeah.
Where they can get it at a lower price, which may take a little bit longer. Or is it on the retail side where it's just something that's, on the MLS and they can actually go out, but maybe they got to put a bigger down payment. Are you seeing that now in order to make the numbers work? Is it a bigger down payment now? Because a lot of people, Michael's, site and his Instagram feed. That's some of the comments he gets. So just to dovetail off of that, like he will say, oh, well, gosh, people say, well, this is great, when rates were lower, when you bought them prices a lot lower. But I mean, clearly people are still winning. And so like, what is the difference?
Yeah. I mean,
It's a little harder probably, but
yeah, a little bit harder. And I think it really just, you have to be associated with a good lender that understands the investor side of things. I mean, I know you set up your own individual lending company because you wanted to be able to offer as many kind of services and loan products as possible. And you do a lot of investor stuff. So it's associating with a good lender like yourself and making sure that you've got, good options. But, people have a misnomer that they've got to put so much down on these things. And sometimes they don't. Sometimes there's ways to structure it where they're not as much down, as they think they are on the front end. Different loan types where maybe it doesn't hit against their debt to income, like the DSCR loans. Right. And that just stays off their books. And then if you got the down payment and you got the credit score, then you got the house, the opportunity. So, but to make the numbers work, I mean, I see people putting the traditional 20% down, sometimes 25. Yeah, but I do see people that are also able to take advantage of. Okay, I'm going to buy it as a primary home or something, and maybe in that market, or someone who doesn't already have their name on a deed somewhere. Their wife's buying it, and maybe it's a primary home for her. But yeah, I mean, it happens every single day, every single week. So I mean, people are still making it.
Closings are happening every single day, as Ricky Caruth says. Yeah. So, well, how do people reach out to you, Steve? How do they find you if they want to work with you? They're listening. What's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, so we've got. I've got all the traditional social media contacts, but I'm on Facebook under Steve Frye. Under Instagram, I'm Steve Frye Nashville, all one word.
Frye is Frye.
Frye, yes. That's Steve Frye, Frye. Phone number is 615-500-1175. I don't mind putting that out there for whoever wants to hit me up. And then we have a website, frygroupnashville.com.
Amazing. Thanks so much, man. Thanks for being here.
Oh, yeah.
Guys, tune in. Reach out to him. He is the man. He has got a lot going on, and he will help you find something for your real estate portfolio that will help you start your journey or even just increase your journey that you're already on. Thanks for tuning in.